If I could make days last forever, and if words could make wishes come true, we'd walk through the fields of ripening corn, and time would flow through you, me and you. I'd save every day like a treasure, and then, again, I would spend them with you. Not my words, but words I heard for the first time in 1973. In fact, a Jim Croce song called Time in a Bottle. Isn't this exactly what we are fighting for? The fundamental right to create memories and to preserve them, and all the other things that we as humans do. Who am I? I was raised by this lady and those hands, who I felt the bitter end of when I needed to. My mother. She also played the accordion. Molly was in a same-sex relationship. I was raised by two mothers. I won't tell you about the evenings after dinner parties where Uncle Sabrant would come sashaying down the stairs in a Shirley Bassey number outfit, drinking red wine and having a ball and making us kids laugh, to the delight of us kids. But what I will tell you is at the age of 16, we were conscripted into the South African military. And it was either go to the military or go to prison. So now I suddenly find myself being conscripted in a really strange environment where we had to conform to all sorts of horrible ways. And the purpose, as we know in basic training, is to break us down and then build us up into a fighting unit. If you had a different accent or a slightly different family name, that could make you a marked person. Now, we're not even talking about your sexual orientation. But it gets darker, a lot darker than this. I won't tell you about this naked roofie, which is the term for greenhorn in the South African military, having to do push-ups in front of all the senior conscripts, all for the sake of a hot shower. They turned our hot water off, and it was winter. Believe it or not, it can get pretty cold in Pretoria in the winter. But there was a sort of sinister type of undercurrent that we only understood years later when the TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, came to light. And the TRC highlighted the horrifying aversion project that had run from 1967 to 1987. It told of medical torture, up to and including forced gender reassignments. And this applied to a number of people whose only crime was being homosexual. As a gay, I've spent a lot of time and energy hiding who I was, because if I didn't, I would have been forcibly turned into something I was not. When I came out of the military in South Africa, my main sort of desire was to escape not only the country, but to escape the military. And I felt the need to run away. So what did I do? I ran away to sea. And in fact, in my pocket is my Seaman's discharge book. And I'll leave you to appreciate that title. Curiously, both my father in the 1930s and my grandfather prior to him ran away to sea in the 1890s. Now, from South Africa, the only place that I could travel without a visa was Israel. So that's how I ended up in Israel. And I wanted to further my Matzail, my lifeguard qualification. And I was also a keen triathlete. I had designs on being a world-class athlete, but I was only ever very mediocre. One day, I'm reading an ad in the Jerusalem Post, and it says they're looking for an English-speaking art director in Miami on cruise ships. And there's a phone number. So I rang the number, and 10 days later, I'll find myself in Miami. So I'm an English-speaking art director, and it was a great thing that I knew English because I didn't know a damn thing about art. So I had a lot to learn. So here I am on this massive big ship, so big that in fact when she sailed on her maiden voyage out of Miami, that the traffic stopped. And it was in the ship's library that I came across a book that would change my life forever. The book was called Breaking the Surface by Greg Louganis. Greg was one of the first athletes to come out as gay in a very heterosexual world. In fact, when he won the Olympics in 1998 in LA, he had hit his head on the diving board, and at the time he knew he was HIV positive. So in that particular instance, so if you could do this, I thought to myself, then so could I. That's what I did. I came up to myself. And does anyone want to guess the name of the ship that I was on? The ship was the Carnival Destiny. Earlier, I mentioned that I'd run away from my country of birth. Now, you can run away from a place, but you can't run away from your demons. And perhaps one of my ways of facing my demons was joining the Royal Air Force Reserve. And that happened in 2008, after I was naturalized as a British citizen. So at the age of 42, I found myself competing with recruits that were half my age, not only physically, but mentally. And I rationalized this in many ways. I told myself it was because I wanted to be a good British citizen. I told myself that I wanted to make up for my chaotic childhood. But it was also true that I wanted to help. I've always wanted to help. And today I still want to help. My late brother John called me the fixer. And I could draw comparisons between the South African and the UK military environments, but probably it would be more constructive to compare pre-2000 with post-2000 in both camps. Soon after the election in 1994, where Nelson Mandela became president in South Africa, that country's constitution became the very first in the world to specifically protect LGBTQ rights. An extraordinary contrast with the forced gender reassignments which we heard about earlier. Now, but the gender reassignments happened both in and out of the military. In the UK, LGBTQ people served openly from 2000, which was quite an enlightened approach at the time. Nevertheless, as an individual, I did have a few negative personal experiences. I was out from day one. My command structure and my colleagues completely supported me and were never tone deaf to my sexual orientation. And I never had to say more than once that I was gay. In sharp contrast, sometimes I've found that often in city streets, even today, that can be a challenge. However, while on pre-deployment training for unconventional tasking, I did run into a mix of toxic or professional jealousy and good old bigotry. I got through it without too much damage. I'm sure there are people here today who will be able to tell a very similar story. What I will say is that the courage and the perseverance of those who have gone before us allowed us to stand here today, enjoy increased acceptance and freedoms. And this is surely a greater path and a greater knowledge of our mysterious human nature. And it will surely gain us a deeper understanding and awareness of ourselves as humans. And I believe few things are precious than that. Per ardua ad astra, through adversity to the stars. Thank you.